She stood guard over Mobile Bay for nearly 30 years. Today, the USS Alabama is one of the largest tourist attractions along the Gulf Coast. Hello everyone, I'm Don Davis. The USS Alabama is truly a survivor. She was commissioned on August 16th of 1942. She served in the North Atlantic until 1943 and then joined the Pacific Fleet. The Alabama earned 9 battle stars, shot down 22 enemy planes, and joined in 10 bombardments of Japanese strongholds. In the 1960s, Gulf Coast school kids put their pennies together and saved her from the scrapyard. The Alabama's long and fascinating history helps set the stage as we take a look at just a few of the Gulf Coast many hidden treasures. Every Friday on Action News 10 at 6 p.m., we uncover a few of those treasures in a special report called Gulf Coast Postcard. From ostrich farms to an old-timey meat market, hopefully Postcard has made a difference in the way you view the Gulf Coast. Looking back, the first postcard brought you greetings from Silver Hill, Alabama, where Jan Johnner and her husband run the Deep South Ostrich Ranch. First, our original report, then the follow-up story.
I get up and I feed everyone in a certain order every morning. After everybody's fed, I go back and check everybody's water and just watch their stool, and then I monitor everyone for probably about 20 minutes at a time. What we're trying to do is start a new alternative agriculture to try and farm these ostriches rather than have them as exotics to be farm animals. Right now, it's really profitable. With a breeding pair of ostriches, there's an average of, say, 50 chicks per pair yearly, or 50 eggs. And if you get 50 chicks, and they're running around $3,000 a piece right now, so it's pretty profitable. We would like to put probably 300 to 400 birds on the ground each year for slaughter, and find probably 20 or 30 other people that want to do the same thing. Right now, there are so many people getting into it that it's a new industry, and I guess you kind of have to have a little nerve to go after something that's out of the norm, but it's no big deal.
Ostriches are, of course, the largest members of the bird family, but despite their intimidating size and mysterious mannerisms, most are kind and gentle. They're definitely curious by nature.
Everybody has their own personality. Some are kind of spiteful. Most of the babies are real curious, and they try and stay real close to you every time you get in the pen. They want to peck on you and push on you. Some days are good, some days are bad. Most of the time, we enjoy it a lot.
What do you like about it?
I like it outside. I would much rather be outside than in the house. So far, so good.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Silver Hill, Alabama. Spring has sprung at Silver Hill's Deep South Ostrich Ranch. The trees are budding, the grass turning greener, and the nursery overflowing. Jan Johnner has been in the ostrich and emu business for 3 years.
Come on.
But this is her first season to hatch and raise chicks.
Come on, guys.
These 2 emus just hatched. The small one is a week old, the other 2 weeks. The Johnners incubator is jammed with more than 20 emerald green emu eggs. With a little help, this baby emu will eventually crack his shell.
I don't always open them up. It's best not to open up too much, but no, I gotta do it.
Oh, be careful. That's just sitting.
This season, the Johnners hope to raise more than 25 emu chicks. Most are already pre-sold.
Right now, I've talked to people that have been trying to find birds for weeks, and there are just none available. And you have probably 10 people that will want to buy every pair of birds that you're selling. If I had 100 birds dropped off here today, I think I could sell every one of them in a month without advertising.
The Gulf Coast ostrich and emu market is booming. In fact, ranchers have formed a breeders' support group. More than 80 farmers attended the last gathering.
It's not for everybody. It's not a quick way to make a fast buck. It's a lot of hard work. It gets in your blood. It's what we do now. I mean, it's everything we do. And everybody in our family has gotten to where they want to buy birds, and we have a lot of friends now. Everybody we associate with has birds, so it gets to where it's what you do. It becomes your life.
For years, ostrich and emu ranches have been considered a fad or a passing craze, but the industry continues to grow. It's dynamic with change. Now more than ever, farmers realize that these exotic birds have a big future.
They don't think we're quite as insane now, although there are a lot of people that still think we're nuts. The people that live around here, I'm sure they all think we're insane, but now at least there's a lot more insane people, so it makes it a little more acceptable.
A little more acceptable, but still a bit out of the ordinary. And doing Postcard each week, we found that people love animals. These next few stories highlight Gulf Coast animal lovers. One of my favorites is up first. It's the story about a Mobile woman and her rabbit, Wilhelmina. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from West Mobile. Valerie Boatman is putting the last-minute touches on her 3-year-old's Easter dress. This year, it's blue polka dots. Mom says blue is her baby's color, kind of blends with her eyes. Most days, she lives a normal life, free to roam her cage. But on special occasions, Wilhelmina gets all dressed up. It's a family tradition.
We had a poodle when I was growing up, and I always dressed my poodle up, so I've always dressed my pets. And I had a Cabbage Patch doll, and one night when she was real little, about the size of her head when I got her, and I dressed her up in that outfit, and she did real well. So I thought, well, here we go. So we went from there.
And the rest is history. Some say Willie is the only rabbit to sit on Santa's knee, dress up as Raggedy Ann, and visit the real Easter Bunny. By the way, when she's not posing for pictures, you can find her by the pool, kicked back, catching a few rays. Thanks to Valerie's sewing talents, Wilhelmina has an outfit for just about every occasion. In fact, she has 7 dresses. This is her Easter dress from last year. This is her Christmas outfit that she wore when she visited Santa Claus. This is her sundress. She wore this to Vacation Bible School this past summer. And this is her Raggedy Ann outfit, complete with wig. This one won her the Doodah Day Parade. Truth is, Willie has won the Doodah Day Parade 2 years in a row. Valerie admits the costume is cute, but says Wilhelmina likes this dress better. Recently, she wore this one in a fashion show.
She don't know she's a rabbit. I hadn't told her that. She thinks she's a baby.
Does she like a baby to you?
Mm-hmm. I rock her to sleep at night, and she just goes sound asleep.
Valerie is the first to admit dressing a 10-pound rabbit in newborn clothes, ruffled panties, and a size 1 baby shoe is a bit unusual, but
I'm used to that. People that know me say, well, that's par for me. But, you know, we just have a lot of fun, so we just do whatever.
And they do have fun.
She's real patient. She lets me do a lot of things with her. We go to the nursing homes and do pet therapy, and that's a lot of fun. And we go to a lot of the local schools and do show and tell. And I just take her to see my friends at their offices. We go downtown to the banks, and that's a lot of fun to see people's response when they get on the elevators. You know, businessmen get on the elevators, and they look at her, and they think they see what they see.
The hardest part is convincing people she's real. When Willie's decked out in her bunny wear, she looks like a stuffed animal. The one thing we're sure she's not.
Hate to wait.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Barnwell. It may not be the Ponderosa, but life here at Bonita Acres is similar in ways. Of course, things here are on a much smaller scale.
Our morning starts here about 6:30 to 7 o'clock, and we come to the stalls. We first check each horse to make sure they're all right. After that, we're assured that they're okay. We go in and feed them. So we get that done, and then we can go in and start tending to ourselves. We have our breakfast in. The horses always come first.
That's a daily routine Bob Brantley and his wife Anita have followed for the past 5 years. Today, about a dozen miniatures live on their Baldwin County farm. Now, these animals are true miniatures, not ponies. They've been bred down to maintain their small stature. As you can see, they're about 1/4 the size of a standard horse.
This little horse is heavy with foal.
Right now, the Brantleys have 3 pregnant mares. This one's name is Bonita's Party Girl. She's due in March.
We're expecting it to be real small. It will most likely be in the neighborhood of 16 inches tall and will weigh about 12 to 14 pounds. And we hope it's a little filly, looks just like Mama.
Not only are the horses fascinating, but they have an interesting history as well. The miniature breed first came to America from England. The first horses arrived here in 1776. Their primary use from the beginning was in coal mines. Now, although the horses are relatively small, they weigh about 190 pounds. They can pull up to 10 times their own weight. Recently, the miniature horse population declined. In fact, the horses almost became extinct. But now the population is building back.
This is a hobby for me, and the only reason I sell one of the horses is I try to let the horses pay for the hobby. I will sell a horse, but we do not like to part with a horse. We like to keep them all right here. So it's a hobby for me. That's not true. It is beginning to be a big business for other people.
These little miniature horses, they're gentle. They're loving. They don't bite and they don't kick.
Does each one have its own personality?
Yes, they do. They all have their own personality.
There really aren't any tricks to raising these miniatures. All you need is a small plot of land and a large pocketbook. Party Girl, the pregnant mare you just saw, gave birth to a beautiful foal 6 months after our original story aired. Here's what she looked like. She was a beautiful strawberry roan color and only 12 inches at birth, and they named her Donna. Well, they say Gulf Coast people will collect just about anything. These next few stories prove it. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Spring Hill.
Things go better with Coca-Cola. Things go better with Coke.
Your nipple will go here, and you turn this by hand, raise the cover, and pull your bottle out.
Things go better with Coca-Cola. Things go better with Coke.
More than 3 decades ago, the Revere brothers, Bill, Joe, and Phil, began collecting Coca-Cola stuff. Today, some 35 years and thousands of dollars later, their Coke collage is taking over the house.
I think it originally started as a hobby. It's now become an addiction. But I think the addiction is going to have to end because we're running out of space.
In fact, there's a lot of the collection we can't show you. Much of it's boxed up. There's just not enough room to display it all.
It's like at stadiums that Linda would carry that on his back, reach in, pull his cup, and dispense the drink as you ordered it.
As you can see, the Revere brothers are serious collectors. They're constantly in search of quality Coke items.
Coca-Cola items have always been colorful, they've been appealing, and they were very interesting. They were always aimed at things that attracted people's interest, whether it was sports or any other form of recreation.
It's pieces like this rare Mobile seltzer bottle, this Junior Miss commemorative issue, and this Super Bowl limited edition that keep the Coke quest exciting.
We originally got started just collecting the local pop bottles that were produced in Mobile, and then we got into some of the local Mobile pop bottles. And that led to the Coca-Cola collection, and now we collect all the Coca-Cola bottles plus all the Coca-Cola advertising material.
As with any type of collection, there are a few pieces that are treasured more than others. The Reveres have several prized pieces, but one of their favorites is this Coke bottle. It's an original Coke from the McDonald's in Moscow. Although it's only a year old, it's already worth more than $350.
We get quite a bit of pleasure out of it. It's also education because you learn so much about the way Coke was bottled and so much about the history, because Coca-Cola was intimately involved in the history making as well.
To the Reveres, Coke is it. It's the real thing. To them, there's real meaning in the phrase, have a Coke and a smile.
Yeah.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from North Mobile County.
And this one has so many crystals in it that it's hard to see each one of them.
Ruth Faggard first showed signs of rock fever in 1962. Today, some 30 years and many thousands of minerals later, she's still not cured.
I like this piece because it is so different on the two sides.
Together with her late husband, John, Mrs. Faggard has assembled one of the finest mineral collections in the country.
We liked to camp when our children were growing up. So whenever we went camping, if we found something we liked, we brought it home. But later we found out they were leaverites. Leverite means to leave it right where you found it.
Look at the size of this collection and you can see the Faggards didn't leave anything behind.
This fish came from South America.
The Faggards collection also includes excellent fossil specimens like this fish and this dinosaur vertebrae. They also have coral, arrowheads, and shark teeth.
This is an oyster that I found in the Alabama River between Monroeville and Grove Hill. That is one oyster.
Geologists say this unique find is millions of years old. From Alabama to Africa, the Faggard collection represents dozens of countries and states.
We enjoy our collection. I like to sit there on the porch sometime and swing and look at all the rocks. If I'm worried about something, I can go and sit there and look at my rocks and forget my problems. That may sound funny, but it's the truth. It really is, because you can look at something and remember where you got it, how you got it, who you met at the time, and friends that you have made through the years collecting rocks and minerals. So it has been it's still a good hobby.
At 75, Mrs. Faggard still actively searches for rocks and minerals to add to her collection. Each piece is a treasure and adds sparkle to her life. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Fairhope. Keeping track of Gene Kelly's train collection is enough to give anyone a headache. He's got hundreds, maybe thousands, of boxcars and streamlined engines.
All aboard for the Burlington.
Adults romance trains, particularly the ones, the old steam engines, had an awful lot of romance. Those things were humongous, and they did so much to go, and they made so much smoke and everything, and they were just something that was hard.
Gene Kelly began collecting as a kid. It all started with this 1939 Lionel, Pennsylvania torpedo engine. Mr. Kelly and his brothers almost wore the thing out. Mr. Kelly not only collects, he also spends hours in his shop making old rusty choo-choos look like new.
It was in the 1933 World's Fair.
We can't show you the entire collection. That'd take weeks. But the highlights include this 1918 American Flyer set, still in its original box. This 1992 Lionel.
Special edition. It's got electronic horn. It's got 2 motors in it.
And this Cole Brothers circus train, complete with Tongo the giant gorilla and a whole host of other animals.
This is a hobby that I'll be doing throughout my retirement. If the Lord lets me live for a long period of time, I will continue this. So you can do it at any age.
The USS Alabama tells the story of World War II. Like many Gulf Coast museums, it allows us to look back at the past, learn from the past, and apply what we've learned to the future. From the decks of the USS Alabama to the decks of the steamer Henderson, these next few stories allow us to look back at our southern roots and heritage. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Claiborne, Alabama. Long before the locomotive was linked to the port city, the steamer stole the show. From the early 1800s to the turn of the century, hundreds of steamboats navigated the Gulf Coast major waterways. The trip from Mobile to Montgomery was a popular route, one of the fastest ways to ship goods. These packing slips tell the story. Local historian Kathy Painter.
This is a receipt from the steamer Mary showing freight that she was carrying in 1884. Some of the items are coffee, rice, lard, cheese, 2
With heavy traffic along the Alabama River, steamboat wrecks were inevitable. From Mobile to Montgomery, there are 65 documented wrecks, including the steamer Henderson. Over the years, the Henderson made hundreds of stops right here at Claiborne Landing in Monroe County. But on April 27, 1825, the Henderson collided with another vessel. The boiler exploded, sending the Henderson to its present-day grave. Right now, the ship rests in 40 feet of water on the bottom of the Alabama River. Today, these underwater pictures unlock the secrets of the past and tell historians exactly what happened the night the Henderson went down.
You can see the smokestacks and the huge timbers that were cut for that boat. Now, the timbers you see in this underwater video were probably virgin timber from this country at that time, which means it's first cut. Very large timbers. You could also see some of the rope holdings that were made out of metal put into the timbers. And I also noticed when we were viewing it this last time some writing in the one of the timbers, which we'd like to investigate more thoroughly.
On previous dives, these artifacts were also recovered from the Henderson's wreckage. Bottles, pottery, and other items have been brought to the surface.
This is a stove off the Henderson. It's a wood-burning stove. It was brought up several years ago by divers. Inside is the wood that they found in the stove, and it was treated in Montgomery, and it's the wood that was burning the night the Henderson went down.
Dozens of wrecks like the Henderson are still out there, packed in layers of mud, untouched for more than a century. But many hope they'll stay that way, so they can be preserved for future generations. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Old Scotland, Alabama. For more than a century, Old Scotland Presbyterian Church has been sitting at the end of this dirt road, framed by oaks and pines. Formal services haven't been held here for more than 60 years. Back then on Sunday morning, the pews were packed. Virginia McMillan remembers the days.
We used to have a choir that would sing there, but now it's gotten to where just congregation is choir. We sat that bench right there. My children over here, mostly at the last 2 benches, and just other little children on the front.
Today, there are only 3 surviving members. Descendants of the original congregation take care of the church and its grounds. Inside, time seems to stand still. The virgin pine floors and pews have been left untouched. Mrs. McMillan and her friend Ida Chappell say there are a lot of memories stored inside.
I can remember when we come here and my children were little, it was a lot of grasshoppers out in the cemetery, and one of them just delighted in going out there and getting him a pocket full of little tiny little things and put down on the floor. Those little old grasshoppers would just hop and hop. And I know they got all over everybody like they did us.
It's amazing after all these years, the church still stands straight. In a way, the church speaks, telling stories about the families who religiously attended services here. Many of these families come back once a year for homecoming. The long-standing tradition happens on the 5th Sunday of a midsummer month. Like all small country churches, this one has a cemetery right on the grounds. In fact, most of the original members are buried here. This tombstone dates back to 1882, and this one, February 10th of 1878. The church has been around for more than 168 years. It's isolated in northern Monroe County. So what is it over all these years that's kept the people coming back?
It's wonderful to me to see it and to realize that anything can. It shows the value. And it's so great to know that there are people who still value what this church stands for. Wonder, interest, wondering how it can still be here.
A lot of memories.
A lot of memories. Some I wish I could forget what I think.
stands for something vital to our way of life, to our forefathers and what they believed in. They believed in what they were doing. They believed that this church should be here, and they've upheld it on down. And it's come, as I said, it's come on down through the generations.
It's now up to the next generation to keep Old Scotland's values, ideals, and traditions alive. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from DeTonti Square. 256 North Joachim Street, one of the most prestigious addresses in Old Mobile. Built in 1860, the Richards DAR House is the cornerstone of Mobile's historic DeTonti Square neighborhood. Once home to a steamboat captain, today this Italianate townhouse is a museum. From the street, the whitewash, intricate wrought iron fencing captures the eye. But inside, old world charm and Mary McDonald is waiting.
They can expect a welcome, warm greeting and a lot of Southern hospitality, perfectly beautiful furniture and atmosphere that we hope shows how people lived in the 1860s.
Mary McDonald is a member of the DAR, or Daughters of the American Revolution. Mrs. McDonald and other DAR members serve as the official hostesses. Their tour begins in the front parlor.
This is the Steele family Bible, and we were very fortunate to get this. We don't have many things that belong to the Richards or the Steele family.
The foyer piano also belonged to the Richards family. Other pieces like this magnificent Baccarat chandelier are on loan from private collections. From this lavish dining room to the upstairs bedrooms, here you'll find a taste of the past.
This bed is a copy of the bed that Napoleon's nephew slept in.
The intricate work on the baby bed is mirrored in the fascinating parlor chandeliers. Once gas-powered, today these brass and bronze fixtures have been carefully restored. The grand foyer is truly the focal point of the house. The freestanding staircase carries visitors to the upstairs bedrooms. What makes the DAR house so unique is the fact that visitors are allowed to look around and even touch. Although it's a museum filled with priceless antiques, the ladies here make you feel right at home.
This was the place to live in Mobile. It was the fashionable place to live. The doctors and the lawyers and the merchants in town all lived in this area.
From soaring 15-foot ceilings to the quiet formal gardens, the Richards DAR house offers a slice of upper-class life and a taste of Southern history. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Mobile. Historic French Fort Conde, Mobile's official welcome center. Built in the early 1700s, she still stands guard over the port city. Here, visitors, both young and old, get a taste of early American history.
Usually we can't give the small kids a history, but they remember the guy shooting the gun and the funny suits that, you know, because this is a French Marines uniform, and they'll call us pirates, but we'll go along, you know. But it's quite educational, too.
Next, why not take a stroll through Fort Conde Village? Among the historic buildings, you'll discover the Conde Charlotte House. Built in 1822, it's Mobile's first official jail. Here, you'll find the original cell doors, and inside, priceless period antiques. Don't forget Fort Morgan near Gulf Shores and Fort Gaines on Dauphin Island. Both historic forts are open for tours. Next up, Bellengrath Gardens. Here, vividly blooming flowers and shrubs are featured year-round. The Bragg-Mitchell Mansion was built in 1855. Many consider it one of Mobile's shining stars. Fully restored both outside and in, it's truly a part of local history you won't want to miss.
Well, I think you'll just see a wonderful ambiance. For an example, the rooms are 50 feet long, and the ceiling height is 15 feet in height. I think people are surprised and a little overwhelmed. Not only the scale of the house is so large, but it's so light.
If you're looking for fun, the Explorium has it. For children and adults, this hands-on science museum offers many special exhibits. Now, if you like science, you'll enjoy the Eustis Medical Museum. But if you prefer paintings and sculptures, visit the Fine Arts Museum of the South. Best known for its towering oak trees, the Oakley Mansion and grounds is a Mobile favorite. Guided tours are offered daily. The City of Mobile Museum teaches local history, focusing on Mardi Gras and the Civil War. And near Murphy High School is the Carlin House Museum. The Carlin House is a Creole cottage outfitted with 19th century furnishings. Next, the Phoenix Fire Museum. It's one of the port city's most unique attractions. By the way, don't forget the USS Alabama at Battleship Park. And finally, many call it one of Mobile's hidden treasures, the Richards DAR House. Since 1860, this townhouse has been the envy of the Detani Square neighborhood. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Biloxi, Mississippi. Like a steel magnolia, she stands guard on the shores of the Mississippi Sound. They call her Beauvoir, French for beautiful view. Built in 1851, this Louisiana-raised cottage was the last home of Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederate States of America.
This is, in essence, the Mount Vernon of the Confederacy.
Today, Beauvoir is a museum, a memorial to the Confederacy. Here they tell the Southern story. The spotlight is on Jefferson Davis, often forgotten and often misunderstood. That's how historian Keith Hardison describes Davis.
Losers don't get good press. And Jefferson Davis was the champion of the lost cause of the losing side in what some people call the Civil War, what we prefer to call the War for Southern Independence.
Steep front steps lead up to the main residence. Inside, 60% of the furnishings are original.
The home has a total of 9 rooms, all furnished. This room is originally was a guest bedroom during the Davis period.
Hand-painted lamps and hand-painted walls and 14-foot ceilings provide the backdrop for the priceless antiques.
A lot of people think it's wallpaper, but you have to get up real close to tell the difference of it. But we believe it was originally done when the home was built by the Browns.
268,000 Confederate soldiers died in the war. Hundreds are buried right here in the Beauvoir Cemetery. Soldiers from virtually every Confederate state rest here today. This man was a member of the Mississippi Infantry, and this one served with General Nathan Bedford Forrest. The cemetery is also home to the tomb of the unknown soldier of the Confederate States of America.
I hope when people come to Beauvoir and visit all of the buildings here, tour our 56 acres of grounds that we have open to the public, that whether they agree or not with the position of Jefferson Davis and the Confederacy, that at least they will have a realistic, informed understanding of what Davis and the Southern states did and why, whether they agree with it or not.
Antebellum life, Southern history. Here, the past is preserved for the future. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Fort Conde Village. 104 Theater Street, home to the Conde Charlotte House and hundreds of years of history. Built in 1822 as Mobile's first jail, today it's an impressive museum, restored and refurnished by the National Society of the Colonial Dames of America.
We've had people say it's a little gem of a house. It's beautifully decorated, and I wouldn't even say decorated. It's full of museum quality antiques, and it's been very carefully documented all the way through.
Inside, the furnishings represent Mobile's unique history under 5 flags. The 18th century English parlor is full of classic antiques, including this secretary. Across the hall is the Confederate room. This double parlor is decorated like a typical Southern parlor before the Civil War. A portion of the floor has been cut out, revealing the foundation of the original jail. Here you'll also find a Pleyel upright piano, one of a handful ever built.
We have to handle it very, very carefully because it's fragile silk.
One of the newest additions to the Conde Charlotte House collection is this silk wedding dress. It's been carbon dated to 1776. In the upstairs French bedrooms, portraits of the Kirkbrides, the owners during the Civil War era, are hanging on the wall. Out back, this walled garden represents a time period when the Spanish ruled Mobile. On the upper level, you can still see the 2 servants' quarters. And further around the corner, the old carriage house still stands on its original foundation. Downstairs, the original jail doors open to the colonial kitchen, full of artifacts unearthed near the house.
In 1976, they excavated all around this house then, and this is one of the things, and we think it must be a latter-day colander. I'm sure it served the purpose.
It's an impressive link between the past and present, forever preserved on a historic foundation. In Mobile, Don Davis, Action News 10. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Mobile. If rusty surgical knives make you nervous and long, dull needles send chills up your spine, close your eyes. It gets worse. The Eichhold Eustis Medical Museum displays thousands of antique medical artifacts. For example, this was used for drilling holes in a skull during brain surgery. Decades later, it may have been replaced by these electrical surgical blades. Dr. Sam Eichhold hardly ever gets queasy over sharp points and probing devices. After all, he spent 30 years putting all this together. He calls it his labor of love.
There are really no medical museums in the southeastern United States, and it represents quite an extensive coverage of artifacts for the past 250 years. And we have some articles that are extremely interesting: bleeding bowls, cupping instruments, obstetrical forceps, and of course the prize of the whole museum are the papier-mâché anatomical models that Josiah Knott acquired in Paris, France in 1859.
The papier-mâché models are in excellent condition, considering they're 130 years old. The priceless set is the only one of its kind in the U.S.
This is what we call a bleeding bowl or a shaving bowl. I think in the early days that some of the barbers would do bleeding for you if you did not have a surgeon who could do it. And this was either held against your arm or maybe around your neck, and then a little incision was made and the blood was let out. That was supposed to take care of the impurities.
The museum is named after Dr. James F. Eustis. Dr. Eustis was born in Mobile. He later became a naval surgeon and internist. This journal dates back to 1851. It's a day-to-day look at his travels. One of the most popular exhibits here at the museum is in this case. It's a field amputation kit from the Civil War era. Basically, the kit contains about a dozen knives, a few pairs of tweezers, and a large amputation saw. Kits like these were used out in the field during the war. The museum's collection also includes correspondence from a few Civil War heroes. This letter is from a man who lost his right arm in battle. It was removed at the shoulder. It says, "I'm getting along very well, and I think I'll get over it all right." But according to this 19th century document, the man died less than 3 weeks later.
A museum is supposed to relate the past with the present and the future. And when a person sees something old, they can, in some manner of means, relate that to what's going on in the present.
Mobile's medical history dates back to 1859. Inside this building, Alabama's first medical school was born. The school and these artifacts help tell the story. Together, they're the perfect prescription for a rainy day. The Eustis Medical Museum is open from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and admission is free. Well, there's no doubt people who live along the Gulf Coast love the water. We found boats in all shapes and sizes. Some float and some don't. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Silver Hill, Alabama.
You got to get a vision of what you want done, and then you start and build it backwards in your mind and make a few notes, and then once you get it built in your mind, then you can start actually doing it. You have to have a vision of how it's going to come out and do a lot of calculating too.
Meet Pico Forsman, master shipbuilder, scaled-down draftsman, part-time hobbyist. You're looking at his latest project, a scale model of a Mobile Corps of Engineers inspection yacht called the Marquise. Using these 3 old photographs and his imagination, Mr. Forsman began reconstructing this 1920s vessel. Mahogany decks, handmade ladder-back chairs, working doors and windows. It's all been reproduced exactly the way Captain Gilliard C. Strong left it.
One of the first tips that I got as to the size of the boat was the life ring on one of the pictures. and I knew that a life ring was about 2 feet across, and from that life ring, I guessed that the boat was 65 feet long by scaling it off with a life ring. And then I confirmed that from Captain Beausarge in Mobile, who said, yes, it was a 65-footer.
The Marquise is only one of a dozen ships he set sail. This Biloxi schooner and this schooner, called the Copperfield, are on display at a local museum. The Copperfield tells the story of sailing in the early 1900s. The original ship was constructed in Mobile in 1919. It was later lost at sea in about 1932. Mr. Forsman said it took him months to construct the four-mast rigging for the schooner. It's his prized piece and one of the biggest challenges he's ever faced. His work is tedious and time-consuming, from these old photographs to the final brushstroke. Each vessel is a one-of-a-kind work of art. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Wolf Bay.
That's my good side.
They've come from all over the country.
God, I missed you, Tom.
For most, this is the first time they've set sail.
We're going to get out there and go sailing. First, I want to show you how to raise the sails and make off the cleats. So go ahead and throw off the leeward line.
She's a southern boat with a northern heritage, a 65-foot replica of a Chesapeake Bay oyster dredging bug-eye.
When you have the sail all the way up, you'll make it off on the cleat here. The way we do this, and I'll go over it with all of you as we go through the week so everybody knows how to do it right.
Captain Rusty Davidson runs through the basics before hitting the open waters.
Cape Cod cats ain't got no tails. Evil way. See if we can get a little bit tighter, Tom. There you go, sweat on that thing. So we look sharp out there today.
First the mizzen, then the main.
Go ahead with it, JC.
As the mainsail goes up, more than 1,600 feet of canvas spans the sky.
Somebody help her get it up there real tight.
It's absolutely beautiful and invigorating and wonderful. Wonderful. There's no better place to be. Everybody should try it at least once. They'll get hooked.
The wind's always shifting around. You guys on the sheets are learning that, aren't you? Ready about. Run right out. Nice work, JC.
This is a wonderful old wooden boat. I love it. I love the feel of the boat. Yeah. Okay, ready about. Helm's a lee.
J.C. Kennedy is from Memphis, Tennessee.
The feel of the boat is in conjunction with the wind. The boat is considerably different from what I have ever experienced before. She has a very heavy helm when she's coming up into the wind, particularly without a jib. Watch your head.
The King was built in 1962 in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. These original blueprints were found at the Smithsonian.
Port tack, and it looks like we're beating. We're sailing as close to the wind as we can.
As the brisk November wind picks up, this 30-year-old schooner glides across the water, introducing yet another crew to the art of sailing. On Wolf Bay, Don Davis, Action News 10. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Chickasaw Marina. Gliding through the sloughs and swamps of the Mobile-Tensaw Delta is an adventure. Each bend in these backwater bayous offers a close-up look at nature. Wild beehives, exotic flowers in full bloom. Here, the flora and fauna take center stage.
Come on, Pete!
Meet Captain Gene Burrell. He's a 1990s kind of Crocodile Dundee with an outback attitude and southern accent.
Come on, Pete!
Little Pete is Captain Gene's playmate, a real live 3.5-foot wild gator that loves to play to the crowd.
See his yellow eyelid? That's always the way you can tell whether you're looking at an alligator-looking log in the water or it's an alligator. Logs don't have yellow eyelids, and gators do.
With a flip of his tail, Pete was gone. Next up, a lesson on survival skills.
Crush these leaves in your hand. Smell it.
Do what?
Smell it. Smell like Irish Spring? It's soap.
in its natural form, and that's what the Indians used it for.
Captain Gene is a master storyteller. Each stop on his tour is a chapter from his real-life experiences. People that live in this area never see this, do they?
Very few of them do. Some of the more adventurous people that come out on canoes and that sort of thing do. But most of the people that live in the Mobile area are really not aware of just how diverse and how pristine and just really special our Mobile Tensas Delta is.
The Mobile Tensas Delta is the largest inland delta in the country. It's made up of more than 200,000 acres of marshes and wetlands. It's home to more than 250 species of birds and about 230 species of fish and other wildlife, including the American alligator and, surprisingly, the black bear. The yellow-crowned night heron also nests in the marshland. We found this female heron guarding her nest.
Like Chief Seattle said, that man did not build the web of life. He's merely a strand in it. And everything he does to the web, he does to himself. And I think there's a realization of that now.
Lessons on life and a look at nature. It's definitely a wildland expedition. In Chickasaw, Don Davis, Action News 10. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Magnolia Springs, Alabama. It's mid-morning, the sun is up, and the river is coming to life. The river is the lifeblood of Magnolia Springs. The entire community is built around it. The vast network of waterways and wetlands has attracted people to this area for hundreds of years. Today, huge oaks and turn-of-the-century homes still line the banks. Here, very little has changed. The morning mail even comes the old-fashioned way.
The route's been around almost 100 years now.
Magnolia Springs water route began in 1916. Today, it's still the same. Mail is delivered box to box, 6 days a week, year-round.
I'm the only one that does it year-round in the world, as far as that's what I've been told anyway. So, and everybody I see out on the route, I'll say, boy, what a job you've got. And I just tell them to come on out in December or January or when it's raining, and I don't get many volunteers.
But that's all part of the job, right? After all, remember that old postmaster slogan?
Rain nor sleet nor dark of night. I'm not going to say we go out and deliver the whole route regardless of the weather, but we try. I try anyway.
Magnolia Springs water route is a tradition, but at the same time, it's practical. For example, the route is only 25 miles by water, compared to 85 miles by land. Each morning before hitting the open waters, there's a lot of work to be done. The mail arrives at the main office at 7 a.m. Rick's arrives at 8 to sort his mail. Right now, there are about 150 boxes on his route. On a daily basis, you deliver everything a normal postman would, right?
Packages, letters, magazines, catalogs.
Rick's has been on the water for 2.5 years. He makes the job look simple, but in reality, it's a sink-or-swim proposition.
Oh, yeah. They tell me when you know you're good is when you don't have to take the boat out of gear. I'm not getting good yet, but I'm close.
Out here, each day is different. Rick says you never know what to expect. From the ducks on the Magnolia River to the dozens of pelicans in Weeks Bay, the scenery is constantly changing. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Barnwell. She's one of the most sophisticated cruise boats on the open waters, and one of the toughest challenges Randy Skinner has ever faced. The intricate detail, down to the spaced teak wood decks, brings her to life.
We want the person that whenever they look at the model to be looking at the actual product. If it's a 700-foot cruise ship, whenever they see that model that's only 4 or 5 feet long, we want them to be seeing a 700-foot cruise ship.
The two are so close, they're hard to tell apart. Take a look. The picture on the left is the real thing. It's almost a perfect match.
Step back and make sure we got it level this time.
Hundreds of hours have gone into her design, and she's still not finished. Once completed, like all of Mr. Skinner's ships, she'll be an exact scale copy, accurate to 2/1000 of an inch.
One like this cruise ship, There's no telling how many different parts is in it. To have a model that's on such small scale and try and develop a lawn chair or deck chair that looks accurate is a challenge. Sometimes we run across challenges of trying to match carpet patterns, things like that.
One 10th grade drafting class and 16 years of practice have turned Skinner's love of drawing in detail into an international business. It all began with the simple shrimp boat for his father. Today, 180 models later, his boats are shipped from Germany to Japan and dozens of ports in between.
Whenever I first started building models, I had a tube of glue and some balsa wood. Now we have 25 different plastic composites to choose from. We have several different techniques using laser, three-dimensional milling, 5-axis milling. So it's getting more and more complicated, and I can see that if we want to compete with the worldwide market, we have to maintain that high quality of detail.
And it's this state-of-the-art AutoCAD computer system that's allowing him to compete in the international marketplace. By using a mouse and tracing the ship's master blueprints, each part is loaded into the program. The program tells this laser how to cut each piece of his model boats. For example, these pieces will fit together to make deck chairs. From paddle wheel boats to industrial prototypes, no matter how big the project, Mr. Skinner and his staff can put it together, creating a larger-than-life illusion.
Mr. Skinner's boats are shipped all over the world. Recently, we found a few places with world-class appeal, from a Mississippian's version of Palestine to the sunny beaches of Seaside, Florida.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Seaside, Florida. Nestled along a half-mile of sugar-white sandy beaches lies a place with crystal-clear emerald green waters, tiny tin-roof cottages, and brick-paved streets lined with picket fences. Built from scratch since 1981, it's truly a place where life slows down, and those long summer days seem longer.
It's like going back to the 1930s. I mean, you see the clapboard houses and the standing seam roofs and the little paved stone streets and stuff, narrow and everything, and you park your car and you walk wherever you're going to go, and that's great.
Seaside is a planned community, an alternative to the typical American suburb. Construction began 10 years ago. Today, the town is still growing. Developer Robert Davis explains Seaside's unique concept.
We've attempted to revive the sense of neighborliness that people used to feel when they came to a small beach town or to a holiday town like this. So you get to know your neighbors, your kids play together in the street.
Downtown Seaside is a unique collection of restaurants and shops. Here you can almost spend an entire afternoon winding through the streets of the Mediterranean-style open-air market. Here you'll find everything from beachwear to books.
Seaside is also home to one of Northwest Florida's most unique food stores, the Monica Market. Similar to the old general store, yet full of today's necessities. Unique stores and shops, award-winning design and architecture. Seaside attracts people from all over the world.
What's on the agenda for the week?
Well...
Nothing, a lot of nothing.
There is no agenda.
Sun.
Probably the water,
reading.
the sun, reading, eating.
Eating.
And occasional screaming shopping sprees. Probably,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. If I can have the credit card.
Despite all the rules and regulations, Seaside offers people a place to be alone or meet new friends, relax, and enjoy their time off. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Fairhope. In the heart of the city lies a place much like the country. Here, city folk with country hearts enter a small fantasy land. Once the Garden Gate closes, all the hustle and bustle of the real world is left behind.
We ourselves didn't plan this. There again, these things just happened. And it's the fantasy that I find that people are enjoying. And there again,
Dawn Pope and her husband Doc are the caretakers of the garden and the guests. Together they've created a tiny little world where yesteryear meets today. You can almost hear the chatter coming from the little red schoolhouse. The tiny post office is jammed with cards and letters. And remember those lazy summer days fishing on the pier? By the way, if nature calls, well, the outhouse is in order. These garden trails lead to the bed and breakfast inn. Despite its country appeal, inside it's full of surprises.
And I have a little imaginary friend that lives here, so let's see if she's going to let you in. Victoria? Victoria. She's imaginary, so go in and see what Miss Victoria's doing.
Victoria's cottage is big enough for two. The inside is a stark contrast from the outside. Victoria was a bit shy, but she did leave her picture behind.
She's not real pretty, and she's not ugly, but she has a sweet heart. And when I was doing the cottage in Victorian, all of a sudden, I started talking Victorian because this is the Victorian era, and all of a sudden I said to Doc, I have a little imaginary friend. I've never had one.
The cottage is warm and inviting, decorated with family pictures and hidden surprises.
And then their coffee's always ready to plug in. I have it made. There's always homemade goodies sitting here for them to eat.
Dawn says her guests get into her home and heart. It's a part-time job she loves to devote full-time attention to.
They call me long distance to tell me, Dawn, I got home okay, I'm safe, don't worry about me, you know. Hugs and kisses when they leave. Cry when they leave. I cry when they leave.
Quiet and peaceful, away from the world, but not a world away. It's the perfect hideaway, a place where you can escape. And if you leave your clothes on the line, no one will know. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Loosedale, Mississippi. For more than 30 years, Loosedale's Palestinian Gardens has been the gateway to the Holy Land. Winding paths take you through landscape gardens. It's a tranquil setting for this one-of-a-kind miniature land. Palestinian Gardens is the only true-scale model of the Holy Land in the world. The story begins on the east banks of the Jordan River, the gateway to the Promised Land. The tour traces the life of Christ from Bethlehem to Calvary. The first stop along the route is the tiny town of Jericho. The gardens were built in the 50s by a Presbyterian minister. His vision lives on even today.
So he wanted to build a Bible map that folk could walk around on and see where things were in relation to other places, and also to get an idea of what the geography was like.
From the quiet streets of Bethlehem to the massive city of Jerusalem, the gardens represent the Holy Land as it appeared 2,000 years ago.
You know, back in 1933, it was not easy to go to the Holy Land. And he just believed that you needed to know the geography if you were going to fully understand the Bible. He wanted to build this place that folk could walk around on, see what it was like. And again, his idea was to teach the Bible, to encourage folks to read the Bible.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Silver Hill, Alabama. In the quiet of the country, down a long, dusty dirt road, endangered species, some native only to southern Alabama, take root. It's a world sculpted by nature. As far as the eye can see, a sea of wildflowers covers the land. The beauty is, this remarkable flower garden, or bog as the experts say, is all natural. Min McCarty and her husband Mac live on the bog. From their front door, the view is spectacular and ever-changing.
It's very relaxing to be able to just come here and sit and look at the flowers and realize that we didn't plant them, since they're all, you know, planted by God or put here natural. So we try to leave it in that state. That's our main concern, that they will not be destroyed.
From early April through September, the hillside leading to the lake is covered with rare and unusual wildflowers. Among them, the carnivorous pitcher plant. This bog has 5 different varieties of this endangered plant. The pitcher plant feeds on insects. The flower produces an enticing nectar. one flies, gnats, and mosquitoes can't resist. And when the insect falls in,
it thinks it can get back out, but then when it touches those hairs, it's stuck. There's a nectar in there that attracts it also, but it can't climb back out. And this plant has water down inside, and when they fall down, they drown and decay, and that feeds the plant the nitrogen for the next year's growth.
insects feed the plants. Underground springs feed the bog. It's a fragile environment, and in this case, dependent on us for survival.
Mrs. McCarty says the best time to visit the wildflower bog is in the fall. That's when most of the flowers are in full bloom. Right now, we're deep inside the USS Alabama in one of 4 engine rooms, where they tell me that these gauges help control the flow of steam that can propel the Alabama at up to 28 knots. So far, we've taken you sailing, to the beach, and down on the farm. Now we're going to explore 2 other farms deep in the country. These farms change with the seasons.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Silver Hill, Alabama.
All right, timber.
There's just something about taking a trip to a country tree farm that brings out the Christmas spirit in all of us.
I see one better on the horizon.
The smell of a fresh-cut pine, the selection, the perfect shape. The reasons vary, but one thing's for sure. Each year, more and more people are returning to the woods for their Yuletide tree.
I think that'll be good. Just the right height and fill it out nice.
People like Helen and Paul Alleman.
We come from the north, and pines are the thing up there. So this is the first we've tried a cypress. I'm anxious to see what happens.
Helen and Paul live along the Gulf. They're searching for a small tree, one they can decorate with sand dollars.
Yeah, we just had our 44th anniversary last week. And
here there are more than 3,000 trees to choose from. Each is a product of hundreds of work hours. Steve Maynard spends winter, spring, summer, and fall pruning each one. But he doesn't mind the work. It's for the children.
For some reason, these tree farms are kind of special for kids. And they seem to, there's a magic quality about going out in the country and getting your tree and choosing your own. And I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you know there's a Christmas spirit when you see these kids, like some of the ones you've seen today. They're just happy here.
Children like Danielle Daniels.
A Christmas tree.
Danielle, her sister, and father decided on this one.
Daddy.
Yes, honey.
I can cut it.
You can cut it too? I think they got it. You want to cut it?
I can't do.
Uh-uh.
I can't.
Well, that's good. Daddy got it.
Christmas is just around the corner, but there's still time to head to the country to create a new family holiday tradition. In Silver Hill, Don Davis, Action News 10. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Hurley, Mississippi.
It's so peaceful out here, you know, just getting away from the city and getting out. A lot of them come out and they pick, and then they just sit around under the trees, and or they talk. And some people have been coming out here for the whole 10 years, and it's really nice to talk to them every year. And they like to pick their own berries.
Meet Diane Stewart, mother of 10 and full-time farmer. For more than a decade, her blackberries and blueberries have made mouths water from New Orleans to Northwest Florida. The Stewart's place is a U-pick farm, one where anyone can plow through the fields and fill up on their favorite varieties.
A lot of people jokingly say we should weigh them before they go out in the field, because they eat so many while they're in the field, and they come up to the counter and their mouths are all purple, you know. But we encourage them to eat them and pick the kind they like.
Blackberries mark the arrival of summertime. Today, most are still green, but within a few weeks, they'll turn a deep blackish purple. The season runs from the beginning of June through the month of July. By season's end, the Stewarts plan to harvest more than 15,000 pounds of blueberries and about 5,000 pounds of blackberries. This year, the blueberries are a bumper crop, but it's just not enough to meet the demand.
We have a lot of people. We take orders every year and pick the berries, or we make the juice for them. And we still have people that are standing in line from a year or two ago that haven't gotten all they want.
So you're not going to be able to meet the demand this year?
Oh, no, there's no way. But every berry that's out there, you know, it'll be picked, and it'll go someplace.
Most will end up in southern favorites like blackberry and dumplings, blackberry cobbler, and blueberry muffins. Others will be used in jams and jellies. Either way, both are a southern tradition, one many look forward to each season.
Blackberry and blueberry season usually hits at the beginning of the summer. Speaking of the summer, those long summer days combined with a slow pace of life attracts people from all over to the Gulf Coast, including artists. In fact, this area is home to some of the best artists in the country. Whether their canvas is made of wood or of china, here the art is as diverse as the region.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Mobile.
Talent is just something that you may be born with, but until you develop it, you haven't done anything.
Developing talent is Doris Cunningham's art. It's a gift she too was born with and developed at an early age.
To understand the structure of the roads.
Her canvas is porcelain. Most of the time it's a simple plain white plate. The technique is tedious and time-consuming, but the end result is astounding. Together with her students, the lost art of china painting lives on.
I guess it's a hobby, and then it relieves a lot of tension.
Since 1972, Doris Cunningham has taught more than 60 people the art of china painting. Today, her students travel from as far away as Pensacola for instruction.
Can you get?
I enjoyed it, something I have wanted to do all of my life, and when I got a chance to come over here to Mobile, I came, and I said, when the other ladies, if some of them are sick or something, I will drive by myself and come, because that's how much I enjoy it.
These are my presents when somebody marries, has a baby, or birthday. These are my gifts.
I always knew I could paint. I had that feeling within me if someone ever showed me. And this lady here is the most marvelous teacher, and I would not quit coming for anything.
I had very few students that have had any art training, and they're doing excellent work. But it's slow and it's challenging, but they stick with me.
And the class has stuck with Mrs. Cunningham for a long time. Some of these students have been coming for more than 10 years. Although the book says they're only on lesson number 4, you can bet these ladies are way ahead of the game.
It's our treasures to us today and our family, but in the future they will be antiques because they're hand-done, and it is a unique type of art. And there are not that many people that do this today.
And I love coming and being with the ladies on this day. And we have parties, and we tell jokes, and we have a good time. We drink coffee half the morning.
Are you going to retire anytime soon?
I hope not. I'm probably going to be one of these shaky old women that is still trying to get that paint down at 90, I hope.
Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Bay Minette, Alabama.
There's an art to the whittling, and that's the art of it. It's letting your knife slide along where you want to cut, not try to cut straight through.
Ralph Johnson has a way with wood. At 76, this retired pastor is preaching the past. Years of wisdom, experience, and memories flow from his hands into his craft and eventually end up in his museum.
I decided if I'm going to make something that would tell a story or to illustrate or to teach us something. So I decided the thing that I wanted to do was make history, things that I grew up with, that my grandchildren had never seen and probably never would see.
Mr. Johnson's museum holds more than 45 carvings. Inside, it may be small and cramped, but it's overflowing with hundreds of memories and dozens of lessons.
That is almost a foolish piece to look at, but yet I wanted to teach the lesson that too many of us don't know whether we're coming and going today or not. We just sort of hung up, but we need to have a direction that we're going and know what's along the way and be prepared for it.
Mr. Johnson found his direction shortly after retirement. He's only been carving for 2.5 years now. He taught himself.
When I get lonesome, and I do get lonesome, I can go out to my shop even at night before bedtime. I can go out there and work until I tire myself out, and it's a little easier to go to sleep. So it certainly is a therapy, and I would recommend to any retired person that they take up something. And if they put their mind to it, they'll be surprised what they can do.
Mr. Johnson spends up to 2 weeks on each carving.
I believe we have lots of artists out in the world that if they would just try, they could do things that they're not doing. So I would recommend that the aged people at least take up some kind of hobby, if we want to call it that, and then for the younger people to see that we as old people are not all goose. We can do a little something.
But his best advice to today's young people can be summed up in one word.
I would say try, because you won't know until you do try.
In Bay Minette, Don Davis, Action News 10. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Fairhope. Is it a camper or a giant camera? Actually, it's both. This 1967 Starcraft has been transformed into this. Pinky's portable pop-up pinhole camera and darkroom #2. Take a look inside this camera for a lesson. It's high-tech physics at its best.
This is the sheet that I use for using, well, actually this is a viewing screen, and what I'm able to do is allow this sheet to drop down so that there can be an image shown on it.
To see the image, the doors are zipped shut, creating total darkness. Obviously, for our purpose, we had to allow light inside. You're going to have to use your imagination on this one.
This is the inside, and this actually is like what the inside of a camera would be, okay? And it's also like how your eye would function. What happens is there's a pinhole here. It's actually, in this case, a 1/4 inch hole, which I can open to make a 1 inch hole. Then what happens is the light comes through this hole and reflects off of the sheet here so that people can see the image. Now, what they're going to see is the same thing you see in your eye. Everything is upside down and backwards because light only travels in a straight line. So light
Pinky's pop-up produces king-size photos on paper. Most are 4 by 6 feet.
But this was about memories and about, you know, coming back to Fairhope and what it means to be here and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of amazing. But this is the size of the negatives that I would do in the camera.
Pinky is serious about shooting. She's an artist. Photography is her medium.
To me, my photographs are an extension of who I am and what my life processes are. And you know, my orientation about life is that the point of life is to move from here to death. I mean, and that what you're doing is trying to make meaning out of that movement from the time you're born to the time you die.
Pinky's point with her pop-up is this: anything can be made into a camera.
I have a whole series of pinhole camera purses that I use. They're kind of like spy cameras. The only problem is that it's such a long exposure, you can't get anybody to be still that long. But basically, this is a camera. On the inside, it's just like the inside of the trailer. It's nothing but a black box that no light's getting into, that I can put photographic material inside. Then, I made an eyeball for this one to make the shutter.
Pinky's personal picture snapper collection includes cans and books, too. Some of her award-winning photos were taken with this tin can.
And then when I get ready to make the picture,
when she's not out snapping shots with her pinhole camera collection, you can usually find Pinky in her pop-up, teaching kids about art and photography. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from West Mobile. From this tiny screen porch, Aaron and Sarah Friedman built their American dream. From the street, it looks like an average home. But take a few steps back and you quickly realize it's anything but average. That house is part of a close-knit neighborhood, where the smaller the house, the better.
We have people come here 4, 5, 6 times, and every time they come, they see something. There's so much detail that you can't see it all in one showing.
The inside has just as much detail as the outside. This French manor has a stucco front and a sun porch that looks like something from the pages of Southern Living magazine.
Many times, and sometimes I wonder, how did I do that? And if I had to do it again, I really don't know whether I could or if I had the patience.
A year's worth of patience was carefully poured into Mr. Friedman's biggest project. It's an exact scale replica of the Mobile Zogby house. The original was built in 1904, the model 2 years ago. Just like the real Zogby home, the miniature version is crafted with oven-baked handmade stones. He even included the historic marker. Inside, you'll discover a lavishly furnished showplace with hardwood floors, crystal chandeliers, curio cabinets filled with collectibles, Pima cotton towels in the guest bathroom, and breakfast in bed. This one was handcrafted for his twin granddaughters. Their portrait is hanging over the fireplace. The other homes were built in honor of his other granddaughters. Each wanted their own.
So he built an English Tudor and a Queen Anne Victorian. By now, his wife was getting just a little bit jealous, and she wanted a house of her own, something from the Old South. Mr. Friedman surprised her with this Greek Revival home.
I'm running out of architecture. I don't know what to do next except maybe a modern. And there isn't too much available in modern furniture unless I make it myself.
Except for the large pieces of furniture, everything you see is handmade, including these kitchen cabinets and the pink bathroom tile. But his biggest accomplishment is this suspended spiral staircase. It took months to complete. What about the future? Well, right now, Mr. Friedman doesn't plan on building another. He'd rather sit on the porch and enjoy his little world. In West Mobile, Don Davis, Action News 10. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Cathedral Square.
I paint for the viewer to enjoy participating in it. I mean, obviously the viewer doesn't always watch me do it, but I hope that people who look at my work just enjoy looking at it.
It seems everyone enjoys looking at Eugenia Foster's watercolors and oils. Bright colors, vivid oranges, purples, and reds are her signature. But it's her undescribable style that sets her apart.
I have so much fun when I paint. I generally wear a Walkman and I listen to music and I just kind of paint along. So I would say that my work is kind of lighthearted.
She begins with that lighthearted outlook, her black pen and a blank piece of paper. And in what seems like a matter of moments, her sketch is complete.
A journalist has to be a wonderful writer because they get it into a certain amount of space. For a painter, I want to say it quickly, easily, you know, without a great deal of labor.
Like her sketches, filling in the colors comes just as natural. The entire watercolor took about 15 minutes. The setting and main characters were taken from this photograph. This is one of Eugenia's latest paintings. The inspiration for it came from a recent trip to Paris. Notice the figure of the lady and the little boy right there in the center. The entire painting was built around those shapes and colors. Eugenia is probably best known for her Mardi Gras watercolors, but her other designs are as equally appealing. They all seem to capture life along the Gulf Coast in a lighthearted way. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Dog River. With each bang of his hammer, Chief Big Heart begins to smile.
Like part of you after you work on him a while. It's real good.
Chief Big Heart is close to Noah Turner's own heart, but so too are most Indians. They're his favorite subject to bring to life.
Most of the time they've been awful sad because I guess I felt sad or something, but feel for them. But I've always said they didn't have a whole lot to be happy about, but this fella's happy.
Noah is an artist with a wood canvas. His work is known and respected throughout the South. It's his eye for detail that sets him apart.
If you tilt the lips up, you're smiling, see? And sometimes you have to come out here and put a little more wrinkle out here on the side if you're smiling very big.
His small, musty workshop is more than 100 years old, but so are the faces he's uncovering.
Face. It's just like a face. If I do hands, you can feel the hair on the hands. And on this face here, it's just real good. This gives a much softer, pleasing look than some of the finishes you put on. Just feeling so soft, like feel your own face. Mine's a little rougher than his.
What do you think about when you're working on carving like this one?
Oh, I tell you, just try to make him as pretty and as good as I can. I sure don't think about my troubles, which I've got a little bit.
Those troubles Noah is referring to center around his cancer. 6 years ago, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He battled the disease with his hammer and chisel. Today, he's won the fight.
It's a good therapy. I say my medicine's better than my doctor's, because you got to keep your head straight, and that's the main thing. I don't run up and down the road, I don't drink, I don't smoke, and my wife thinks all I do is carve.
His wife is right. All he does is carve. But then, he has a lot of carving to do.
This Indian's been in this tree stump for, 100 to 150 years, and here he's coming out. We wonder what happened to him. I know where they're at. They're in these stumps, and I'm going to get every one of them out I can.
In Mobile, Don Davis, Action News 10. Kids love looking at Mr. Turner's Indians, and they also love touring the mess hall here on board the USS Alabama. They tell me up to 3 hot meals were prepared in this kitchen daily for the 2,500 men that served on board the Alabama. We've also found that kids love playing grown-up games, and they also love doing anything outside. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Alberta, Alabama.
My name is Evelyn, and my husband's name is Walter, and we farm, and one of the things that we do, we raise our pumpkins.
Evelyn Kickler loves children.
Has anybody ever seen a pumpkin grow?
And the children love being outside. Most are from the city, so this whole farm thing is a new experience.
This is a pumpkin flower, and as you can see, there's a little tiny pumpkin on the bottom of it.
Their little eyes and ears take note. Patiently, they watch and wait, looking to the field.
And we'll let Miss Bonner take
The real lessons begin in the pumpkin patch itself.
There's a big one right there. Let's go find that one.
Here they can touch, smell, and get their hands dirty.
It looks like a big one.
Yuck.
Ew.
That's a perfect one. Let's keep going. Dan's leading us.
With 20 acres to explore, these kids won't leave an inch uncovered. Finally, the kids chose one for the class.
Catch it with one hand.
And one to take home.
Once you get your pumpkin, go ahead and have a seat. You can sit. They're kind of heavy, so you may want to sit down with them.
It's heavy.
It's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to take it home with me.
It's Halloween fun. Good. We'll go home, and we have a big one. I think we're going to try to cut it out. I don't know how that's going to work out. It'll be messy, but we'll try it for the kids.
Enjoy seeing the children's reactions and the parents' reactions too. A lot of them have never been out here, and it seems like they have a good time, and it's a fun time for us. It really is. We enjoy it.
One of my favorite postcards reminds me of my grandfather's old-timey country store. Truth is, there are very few country stores left, and even fewer old-timey meat markets. At least, that's what we thought until we found the meat block. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from 8 Mile in Pritchard, Alabama.
Every steak and every piece of meat that we cut has to be exact right. And when the customers stand there and we just give them exactly what they want.
How about this? You like this? All righty. And what else, sir?
Marie and Earl Lee have been in the meat business since the 1940s. Today, some 45 years later, the Lees are still packing it away. Business is as good as ever. Mr. Lee built this business with his wife. From the start, they promised customer service like no one's ever seen before. It's that principle which keeps the doors open and the customers coming back.
They like personal service. They like to know that they're special. And to me, when they walk through that front door up there, they're special. They're our special people. And that's the way we feel about them.
Everyone that comes in our door, we friendly to. And we just like people. We've been dealing with people for years, and we just like dealing with people.
That's tenderizing around steak.
Here, it's shopping the way it used to be, a step back in time to the good old days.
I don't know whether it would continue like this or not. We hope to, you know, to stay on, but it's getting farther and farther away from it now. But people still like to shop in places like this. They sure do.
Don't worry, the Lees aren't planning on retiring anytime soon. They said they've done it before, and they hope they don't have to do it again. If old-timey meat markets are rare, so are full-service gas stations, especially the kind where the owner takes time out of his busy schedule to play checkers with each customer that stops in for a fill-up. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Fowl River, Alabama. It's your typical small-town quick mart, cashing in on loyal customers, counting on their consistent patronage and challenging competition. Meet Eugene Roach, master checker champion and full-time businessman. For more than 20 years, Roach has challenged his customers with the checkerboard. Beat him at his own game, and this six-pack of Coke is yours, free.
I have, you know, tournament players in you, right, regular, you know, practicing and what have you for the various tournaments. And in practice, you know, like that, occasionally I lose a game. But
although he does lose a game occasionally, he has never lost the checker challenge. Hundreds of amateur checker players have pulled up to this 33-year-old table, but they're no match for the master.
You're so good you can see ahead 2 or 3 moves, right?
25 or 30 moves, more like it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know what's going to happen before it even, after a couple of moves on the board?
Well, I can know whether you're in terrible condition or not. Tell if it's a pretty good checker player I'm against.
Like most of us, Roach learned the basic moves of the game as a kid, but it was years later, while serving in the Army, that he mastered the board.
It's a definite brain game and study, concentration. But even at that, you can't get anywhere without them books.
You'd expect a master checker champion to be well-read. Roach's checker library is jammed with more than 400 books. His prize piece, this 1985 Time magazine feature article on the checker challenge.
Thank you, ma'am. Had a good ride up on the chin and then went on in the battle battery.
He plays while he works, and he works while he plays. Although he's serious about the game, he does have a willing heart to help those who need it.
One thing I can think of is from here to here.
No. This is the only one of the draws. Pitched right there. Pitched that man away. I jumped and you jumped.
He's closed on Wednesdays, but open for competition anytime. Despite his huge stash of Coca-Cola, Roach says he plans on selling it rather than giving it away. Finally, as we wrap up our look at just a few of the Gulf Coast's many hidden treasures, we leave you with 2 stories that promise to make you tap your feet to the beat of the river. Thanks for watching. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from the Mobile River. As the echo of the calliope mixes with the churn of the bright red paddle wheel, excitement fills the air. She's a true legend, an American classic. Her story began in 1924. Since then, the Delta Queen has lived on the water.
allowing people to sit back and relax and go back to a simpler time of life.
I wrote some postcards and I said, she's old and she's creaky, but she's loaded with charm and grace and elegance, and that's what I feel about her. A lot of things that the new ships have that she doesn't, but they don't have her old charm and grace and elegance.
Charm and grace, that's what makes the Delta Queen unique. Today, she's a treasure, a national landmark, and the only overnight passenger steamer running on American waters.
Certainly you feel the presence of the history of Mark Twain, the great legacy of the Mississippi River and southern waterways, and the rich music and literary worlds that we deal with are alive and well here on this boat.
Steamboating, it's romance and adventure, and fortunately it's alive and well on board the legendary Delta Queen. On the Mobile River, Don Davis, Action News 10. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from downtown Mobile.
Let's start from the beginning and add 3 and 4 in there, okay? Start off 5, 6, 7, 8.
David Webster isn't your typical cowboy.
1 and 2, 3 and 4, pivot, step.
He grew up in Mobile, not on a farm.
Kick, 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 kick. I feel more like a cowboy when I'm doing that.
What he lacks in country living, he makes up for in country charm. People come from all over to learn his latest line dances.
Right for the cardiovascular system.
All you got to do is just practice and you just give it up.
Well, I think it's hard.
You don't have to be Sweet 16 to shake up those kickball changes and jack steps. Both young at heart and young in body are stepping in line.
It's like golf and a lot of other addictive things. It's addictive. Once you start, you don't want to stop.
Well, what about the achy breaky? Well, these dancers say that's old hat. These days, the hottest dance is the boot scootin' boogie. So grab your boots and your date. Whether you're a boot scooter or a Texas two-stepper, hop in line and get ready to stomp your feet to the hottest country tunes. In downtown Mobile, Don Davis, Action News 10.